Loeffler. Now, Tom, let's talk about the 30-way weigh-in by the WBC. Brook comes in at 176 pounds. Gennady weighs in at 165. A lot of fight fans were talking about this fight being a mismatch because Gennady's the bigger man. Now it shows that Brook is the bigger guy. What are your thoughts on that?
He's the heavier guy, but he was solid. You saw it.
Yeah.
He was on the scale. He had his shirt off. He was a solid 176 pounds. He didn't have a fat stomach. And, that's where on paper it looks like a undefeated welterweight champion fighting an undefeated middleweight champion. But Gennady's always been able to make 160 pounds very easily. He weighs in at 159 typically in his fights. And he walks around always, pretty close to his limit. He's only 5 pounds over 30 days out. I mean, not only for middleweight, but for any champion to be 5 pounds over. I mean, look at the flyweights that are fighting. Roman, both Roman and Quadras they were 124. So that's 9 pounds over, and that's a much smaller weight. So, Guy is just a unique individual. He's so dedicated and so focused on his training and his career that he doesn't gain a lot of weight in between fights. He usually walks around at 170, 172 when he gets to training camp, and he's at 165 during the training camp, during the whole training camp. So when you look at those photos next to each other with Gennady weighing in at 165 and Brook at 176, I think it's a much more competitive fight than some people like to say between Brook moving up in weight.
Well, like I mentioned before, a lot of fight fans saw this as a mismatch because of the disparity in weight. Now that they see Brook weighing in at 176 pounds, there's a lot of intrigue. People are actually into this fight. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, not only, look, Kel's moving up in weight, but you also have to look at the fact that Gennady, which is very unusual, Gennady as the top champion in his division, actually going to Brook's home country, to the UK, to defend his titles over there, to the challenger's home country. You never see that happening these days. The top fighters going to a challenger's home country, and I think that evens out a lot of the what some people might perceive as advantage for Gennady, because look, you got the jet lag, you got the change of locations, you got the time difference, different restaurants, everything. But Gennady's such a professional. He's fought all over the world as an amateur. He doesn't care where he fights. We were talking about fighting Froch in the UK, then we were talking about fighting Billy Joe Saunders in the UK, and then Eubank. And so now we have to give Ggg-Brook a lot of credit. He showed the most heart to actually sign the contract, and that's how this fight happened. And since we announced the fight, when the tickets went on sale, they sold out in one day. We're expecting great numbers for the UK for Sky, the pay-per-view. It's going to be in over 100 countries internationally on HBO here, naturally in the United States. And it's become really the most talked about boxing match of the year.
So many middleweights refuse to fight Gennady Golovkin. You have a welterweight in Ggg-Brook who's risking his undefeated record, risking the weight disparity. He's risking so much, and he's moving up to fight a heavy puncher in Gennady Golovkin. Why is it that no other middleweight wants to face this man?
That's not a question for our side. You really have to ask their side.
Right.
It's been my experience in boxing that when you have a champion willing to fight, normally champions swerves around trying to protect his title. But when you have a champion willing to put all of his titles on the line, the fighters would jump at that. Trying to have the opportunity to win the titles. And I think Ggg-Brook sees it as an opportunity to be in a mega event. Gennady coming to the UK, putting his titles on the line against a very popular champion with Brook. It's turned out to be a massive event, and that's really what the Triple G fights have turned into. It doesn't matter who he fights; they're big events. He sold out MSG with David Lemieux. He sold out the Forum against Dominic Wade. Now the O2 Arena is sold out with Ggg-Brook. So I think I think this fight made a big statement as far as the interest internationally, the revenue that's going to generate, and hopefully it'll give an incentive for the other middleweights to actually, instead of talking about fighting Gennady, to actually sign the contract to fight.
My last question, Gennady has been a fan favorite here on the West Coast and in the East Coast. Do you feel the UK fight fans will embrace him and take him in as one of their own because he's fighting Ggg-Brook?
Yeah. Oh, Ggg-Brook's a very popular champion in the UK, but I think they've already embraced him. What we saw, the reaction, he's been now twice this year to the UK. And both times for press events, and the reaction he's got not only from the fans but the media. You know, finally seeing him live over there. You know, it's like this myth of a guy that they see on TV that's knocking everybody out, and now they actually get to see him live. I mean, it's been such a great reaction and a lot of fan support that I think you'll see a lot of Triple G fights, Triple G fans in the arena that night.
Thank you, Tom. Always a pleasure.
Thanks, Dominic.
All right. I'll see you.